A universe where mistakes become the seeds of a revolution. In We Were Wrong, the complete HFY story, humans discovered that the apparent weakness of a pirate commander and his aging frigate transformed over time into the driving force behind a historic mobilization. Each betrayal, each massacre, echoed like a viral video, igniting hearts and stirring a revenge that became an immediate response to failed diplomacy and shattered alliances. The technology of the Keelans, combined with the imposing human fleets, rewrote the rules of war, paving the way for the conquest of new territories and the rise of Terra, where the human empire stands tall with supremacy and galactic power. Amidst the chaos, the Xalians and the Massives witnessed the extermination of traitors become a symbol of a power that transforms fear into unification and absolute mobilization. In this counterintuitive narrative, where revenge is not merely retaliation, but the fuel that forges a new era, every mistake turned into a lesson, and every shot became a hymn of conquest. Prepare to challenge ingrained beliefs and embrace the controversial notion. To be strong sometimes means admitting what is wrong and using that truth to build the future. Allow yourself to be enveloped by a story that intertwines pain and swift reward, where power, surpassed diplomacy, and human mobilization chart a path of merciless war and unyielding victory. Are you ready to turn fear into triumph and discover how the answer to a grand destiny lies precisely in the mistakes of the past? In the shattered cabin of the frigate, the red light blinked incessantly, like a silent signal for a grim fate approaching. The smell of burnt metal mixed with the dissonant sounds of twisted beams in the vacuum, composing a symphony of desolation. The pirate commander remained silent, a witness to a fatal error that would forever change the course of history. His eyes, filled with pain, reflected the echo of a massacre that would never be forgotten. The frigate, once a symbol of pride, was now transforming into a relic of revenge and mobilization. Every flicker of light told a story of merciless warfare, where the unification of humans emerged as an invincible force. The memory of broken alliances and past betrayals fused with the promise of new territories and conquests. Amidst the wreckage, the power of the Keelans shone brightly, hinting at the technology that would propel human supremacy. The error of that moment spread like a viral video, stirring fear and preparing the universe for an unrelenting response. Thus, the cabin became a sanctuary of pain and hope, heralding the dawn of an era where the strength of humans would be the final word. With the camera shaking in his hands, the commander adjusted the communicator in a gesture of desperation and resignation. His hoarse voice, laced with panic, sliced through the silence like a whisper, daring the very darkness. Each word spoken denounced the error of underestimating humans, who now revealed themselves with surprising strength and mobilization. The account took on the contours of a viral video, where every syllable was charged with the weight of a massacre and the promise of revenge. The atmosphere pulsed with the imminence of a merciless war, where alliances and diplomacy were overshadowed by ruthless responses. The determination of the humans became evident, and galactic power began to manifest in every detail of that transmission. The strength, once seen as weakness, now rose, announcing the conquest of new territories. The technology of the Keelans, coupled with the mobilization of human fleets, outlined an empire ready to eradicate traitors. The error committed resonated through space, inciting the unity and vengeance of those who had previously been underestimated. Thus, the communicator became a vital link between the tragic past and the mobilization that loomed on the horizon. In the whirlwind of memories, the commander plunged into the recollection of a moment that sealed fates. The memory of a merciless shot that claimed the life of a child echoed like a scream silenced by the void. The betrayal of a soldier, driven by a cruel impulse, fed the sentiment of a massacre that would never be redeemed. Amidst the pain, the image of a fearless woman emerged, defying death with a courage that symbolized the true strength of humans. Even wounded and with broken bones, she rose as the embodiment of revenge and unification. The error transformed into a lesson, etched into every fiber of an ascending human empire. Every heartbeat reverberated with the promise of a response that would come with total mobilization. The echo of that moment, worthy of a viral video, signaled that the empire would not rest until it achieved complete conquest over its enemies. Thus, the memory of the massacre propelled a merciless war where the power of unity proved invincible. The determination of humans became the banner of a response that would seal their destiny. With closed eyes, the commander allowed pain and memories to blend in a silent turmoil. Every drop of sweat, mingled with the blood that flowed, told the story of an error that awakened the mobilization of humans. The environment around vibrated with the foreboding of an empire in formation, where revenge and conquest intertwined. The sound of the massacre transformed into a hymn for the strength that emerged, ready to eliminate any traitor. The frigate, in its final moments, held the memory of a merciless war, where extermination was merely the beginning. The unification of humans came to life with every breath, marking the dawn of a new order. The technology of the Keelans emerged as a beacon, illuminating the path to alliances and the supreme response of a human empire. The mobilization became palpable, like a wave of strength destined to conquer new territories. Every interjection in the silence of space reverberated as a reminder of the massacre that instigated vengeance. And amidst this scene of pain and determination, the universe prepared for the next strike of an unyielding power. As the communicators still echoed the last words of despair, the gravity of the error condensed into images that spread across the cosmos. The tragedy of that moment took shape in a viral video that ignited the mobilization of humans in an unprecedented response. The frigate, engulfed in flames and memories, became a monument to resistance and revenge. The response of the humans was not limited to a simple act, but rather a revolution that promised to rewrite the rules of galactic power. The unity forged in that moment revealed the human empire, ready to eradicate any sign of betrayal. The technology of the Keelans and the strength of human fleets combined, heralding the conquest of new territories and the supremacy that would come with it. Every detail of the scene resonated with the determination to eliminate the mistakes of the past, transforming fear into action. The merciless war loomed on the horizon, where alliances were forming and diplomacy gave way to action. The massacre, immortalized in every frame, was the seed of a response that would spread throughout the galaxy. Thus, tragedy transformed into a prelude for the rise of an irreverent and unshakable power. In the shadows of space, the commander felt the weight of a human empire rising from the ashes of error. The atmosphere vibrated with the tension of a mobilization that echoed the true strength of humanity. Unification was evident in every breath, turning the pain of the massacre into fuel for conquest. The technology of the Keelans shone like a promise, merging with the determination driving the ascendance of a new order. Even amidst the chaos, the galactic power emerged, charting a course for alliances and uncharted territories. The enemy's fear intensified the desire for revenge, preparing the ground for a merciless war. The human response solidified as a cry for vengeance, echoing through the stars. Every whisper of space brought hope that the human empire, forged in pain, would be invincible. Mobilization transformed tragedy into a symbol of unification and a new era of conquest. Thus, the universe braced for the confrontation that would seal the fate of all, as humanity's ascendance heralded the awakening of absolute power. On the threshold between past and future, the commander contemplated the wreckage that bore witness to both error and the promise of a new beginning. The red light pulsing in the cabin served as a constant reminder of the pain endured and the mobilization that transformed weakness into strength. Every trace of smoke and every vibration in space evoked the massacre that ignited the flame of a merciless war. The revolt of humanity, unified in their response, paved the way for an empire that would not bow to betrayal. The power of allies intertwined with the technology of the Keelans, strengthening the mobilization that was already conquering new territories. The rise of humanity emerged as a portent, merging fear and vengeance into an unshakable unification. Amidst alliances and ruptures, the supremacy of the human empire asserted itself with the intensity of fleets ready for extermination. Diplomacy gave way to a brutal response, while galactic power materialized in every act of conquest. The universe, pulsating with human energy, prepared to open a new chapter of challenges and battles. And so, as the frigate groaned its last breaths, a portal opened, suggesting that the journey was just beginning. The camera shook as if sensing the weight of an irreparable error, while Glean, the pirate commander, adjusted the communicator with trembling hands. His face, marked by the pain of an internal massacre, reflected the unexpected strength of humanity that refused to be underestimated. The wreckage of the old frigate whispered stories of revenge and mobilization, heralding a merciless war. Every vibration of the equipment echoed the advanced technology of the Keelans, silently observing the unfolding destiny. The memory of broken alliances and past betrayals mingled with the promise of conquering new territories. The air filled with the scent of imminent extermination as human fleets prepared for the decisive response. The narrative took shape, transforming into a viral video that ignited hearts and awakened the fear of enemies. The unification of humanity shone like a beacon, radiating the galactic power that had once been ignored. Every crackle of the communicator was a reminder of the massacre that forged the mobilization of an unyielding human empire. And as the device trembled, the communication opened like a portal to a future where war approached, signaling the next fateful moment. In the piercing silence of the void, Glean's voice rose in a hoarse whisper, laden with panic and regret. If anyone finds this, listen carefully," he declared, as if each word were the last hope of humanity. His speech denounced the error that condemned him and ignited the flame of vengeance that accumulated in every fiber of his being. The communicator transformed into a link between the pain of the past and the mobilization that was now inevitable. Each syllable carried the weight of a massacre, where the strength of humanity emerged as a response to past betrayals. The frigate, a silent witness to dark times, reverberated with the sound of human fleets united by conquest. The narrative, pulsating like a viral video, made old diplomacy tremble before an unprecedented mobilization. Technology intertwined with the discourse, promising that the extermination of traitors would be the price of unification. Galactic power manifested in every word, turning fear into a lethal weapon of revenge. And so, Glean's message closed with the certainty that the next moment would bring a new chapter of war. As the communicator vibrated in his hands, Glean's anguish delineated the true essence of his journey. He recalled the arrogance that had judged humanity as easy prey, an error that had transformed into imminent massacre. Every word spoken was a testament to mobilization, a cry of vengeance against the betrayal that tainted ancient alliances. His trembling voice revealed that humanity, far from being weak, possessed a strength capable of rewriting destiny. Unification emerged as the answer to every mistake made, uniting human fleets under a single banner. Galactic power manifested, illuminating the darkness with the promise of conquest and new territories. The atmosphere of the frigate pulsed with the tension of a merciless war, where diplomacy gave way to action. The memory of that cruel shot, which transformed innocence into extermination, became a symbol of resistance against betrayal. Every whisper from the communicator was like a viral video, spreading the message of mobilization to every corner of the universe. And thus, Glean's account solidified as an anthem of response, preparing the ground for the inevitable confrontation that was approaching. The communication, still interspersed with despair, pierced the silence of space like an arrow of determination. Every word reflected the mobilization that forced the unification of humanity, sealing the fate of the traitors. Glean recognized, with sorrow, that the error of judging his enemies as weak had been the spark for an unrelenting vengeance. The massacre that followed was the prelude to a merciless war, where conquest became inevitable. The frigate, shrouded in shadows, witnessed the rebirth of a galactic power defying any obstacle. The technology of the Keelans shone, outlining a path where true alliances emerged from devastation. The speech resonated with the power of united human fleets, ready to respond with extermination to every betrayal. Each word, soaked in fear and determination, transformed the announcement into a viral video of raw emotion. The unification of humanity emerged as the standard of a human empire, poised for ultimate supremacy. And in the twilight of that moment, the narrative hinted that the next chapter would bring even more twists. Glean's tale advanced with the weight of a sealed destiny, where his trembling voice revealed the mistakes of the past. The echo of his words transformed emptiness into a symphony of mobilization, with each note pulsing with the strength of humanity. The massacre occurring at that moment was recounted with the precision of a viral video, igniting a desire for vengeance. Memories of betrayal mingled with visions of alliances forged in the heat of battle, paving the way for the Terran ascendancy. The frigate, a living monument to the extermination of enemies, vibrated with the energy of human fleets determined to conquer. The technology, bright and relentless as that of the Keelans, transformed fear into mobilization and pain into action. Each declaration from Glean was an invitation for human unification, capable of subduing even the Xalians and the Massives, creating a response that would seal the victory of the human empire over past errors and betrayals. Diplomacy, weary of weakness, gave way to a force that rewrote the rules of war and conquest. And so, the narrative unfolded, weaving a path of mobilization that promised not just vengeance, but absolute domination of power. The agonizing speech took on intense contours as Glean, with a choked voice, wove words of pain and determination. Each syllable carried the mark of a fatal error, turning the massacre into fuel for human mobilization. The frigate, now silent, cried out for vengeance and unification, echoing the power of marching human fleets. The precision of the Keelan technology shone like a beacon, guiding steps toward a merciless war. The extermination of enemies was announced not as punishment, but as the consolidation of a supreme human empire. Diplomacy disintegrated before the mobilization, giving way to a united and relentless response. Each whisper from the communicator brought the conviction that new territories would be conquered with alliances forged in the fire of battle. The narrative gained the intensity of a viral video, where fear transformed into a cry of power and mobilization. The echo of each shot rang out like the final note of an error that awakened the latent strength of humanity. And thus, Glean's trembling voice closed another chapter, leaving in the air the promise that the next moment would bring even more devastating revelations. When the door exploded, Glean's announcement was abruptly interrupted, as if the universe itself decided to resume its course. The explosion reverberated through the debris, marking the entry of human fleets and the beginning of a mobilization that knew no bounds. Each shard carried the memory of a massacre and the certainty that the error would never be forgiven. The impact was the harbinger of a merciless war, where the enemy's response would be sealed with extermination. The technology of the Keelans pulsed in the background, a silent ally in the conquest and destruction of traitors. The unification of humanity proved unbeatable, transforming fear into a force that defied any opposition. The human empire emerged from the wreckage, ready to impose its supremacy and rewrite history with vengeance. Each fragment of that moment vibrated with the promise of new territories, where alliances would be forged in adversity, consolidating supremacy. Glean's account, transformed into a viral video of raw emotion, called for a response that would echo across the cosmos. And so, with the explosion sealing its last breath, the communicator opened a portal to the next chapter, where the rise of humanity foretold an era of absolute power. At the moment, the silence of the void shattered. The explosion tore through the darkness with an overwhelming fury. The frigate's door detached, sending shards flying like reminders of an irreparable mistake. Each fragment danced in space, telling the story of a betrayal that sealed the fate of the pirate commander. The roar of human weapons flooded the environment, announcing the mobilization of a force that would know no mercy. Glean, in his final recording, left a whisper of vengeance that would spread like a viral video. The imminent massacre was translated in each crackle and flame that spread through the burning frigate. The unification of humanity emerged with the conviction of a human empire, ready to correct the error made. The technology of the Keelans intertwined with galactic power, providing lethal support to every shot. Human fleets, aligned with precision and fervor, demonstrated the supremacy that imposed itself upon enemies. And as the wreckage whispered secrets of extermination, fear transformed into a pure promise of conquest. The devastating roar continued to echo, reverberating like the thunder of an announced war. The remnants of the door, floating amidst the chaos, were symbols of broken alliances and a diplomacy that had failed. Each dispersed particle remembered the fatal error that triggered an unyielding mobilization of humanity. The emerging force became palpable, turning the pain of betrayal into fuel for colossal vengeance. Among the flames, the unification of combatants shone brightly, reaffirming the uncompromising response of a rising empire. The explosion interrupted Glean's recording, sealing his fate with the harshness of a massacre that refused to be erased. Galactic power manifested in every shot, while the technology of the Keelans brought lethal precision to the battle. Human fleets advanced with the force of a viral video, igniting hearts and minds with their mobilization. Supremacy, now undeniable, made vengeance a sacred and inevitable mission. And amid the chaos, the explosion marked the turning point, where fear transmuted into pure conquest. In the aftermath of the impact, the fragments of the door spread like seeds of a new era. The frigate, once a refuge of strategies and alliances, transformed into a stage for a drama of power and mobilization. Glean's voice, interrupted by the roar of weapons, echoed like a lament for an error that cost too much. Each shard reflected the strength of humanity, unifying in response to a historic betrayal. The atmosphere pulsed with the energy of a human empire reborn from the ashes of extermination. The technology of the Keelans and the precision of human fleets intertwined in a lethal dance. The imminent massacre was as inevitable as the advance of a force that would never bend. The mobilization transformed chaos into a symphony of power and relentless response. Every second overflowed with the promise of conquest and a merciless war. Amidst the smoke and rubble, the unification of humanity heralded the dawn of new territories. As the void absorbed the roar, the explosion became a symbol of an empire forged in vengeance. The mistake made long ago gained new dimensions in the face of the mobilization igniting the skies. Glean, even in his last desperate attempt to warn, remained etched in memory as an immortalized pirate commander. The shards flying through the air were silent witnesses to a massacre that revolutionized old alliances. Each flame reflected the fury of humans, who now rose with unmatched strength. The advanced technology of the Keelans provided lethal support, propelling the supremacy of the human empire. Diplomacy had already given way to a response that translated into pure mobilization and conquest. Galactic power pulsed with each shot, transforming fear into a precise extermination weapon. Human fleets advanced with the certainty of correcting betrayal and sealing vengeance. And as the explosion marked the end of the record, the universe whispered the promise of new challenges. The brutal impact stretched each second like a sworn oath of war and mobilization. The explosion was the harbinger of a human empire that refused to be defeated by the mistakes of the past. The scattered debris, strewn across the void, carried the echoes of a massacre and the memory of betrayed alliances. Each fragment vibrated with the intensity of a response that turned pain into absolute conquest. The pirate commander, even in absence, left his mark in every flash of destruction and every shot fired. The unification of humans emerged with the fervor of a mobilization that defied all enemy supremacy. The technology of the Keelans, combined with the brute force of the fleets, wrote a new era of extermination and vengeance. Galactic power manifested, guiding each action with the precision of a viral video immortalized. Diplomacy faded away before the inexorable advance of a merciless war, and amid the turmoil, the sound of the explosion transformed fear into a cry of conquest and rebirth. The devastating roar revealed the magnitude of a mistake that would no longer be tolerated. Each second pulsed with the energy of a mobilization destined to correct past betrayals. The explosion interrupted Gleen's record, but left an indelible mark on the narrative of humanity. The flames reflected the unyielding strength of an empire rising to impose its response. The unification of the combatants took shape, intertwined with the lethal technology of the Keelans and the galactic power. The massacre beginning to unfold transformed the environment into a field of mobilization and extermination. Human fleets, like thunderheads in formation, advanced to conquer each new territory. Supremacy emerged, fueled by vengeance and the conviction that no mistake would be forgotten. Each shot and each scattered fragment told the story of a war that left no room for diplomacy. And between the echo of the explosion and the roar of weapons, the universe opened a portal to the ascent of future challenges. In the aftermath of destruction, space bore witness to a mobilization that defied time itself. The fragments of the exploded door told stories of betrayal and a massacre that incited humanity's response. The frigate, engulfed in flames and pain, served as an altar for the unification and relentless strength of the human empire. The technology of the Keelans shone amidst the rubble, like a beacon heralding the conquest of new territories. Each shot from the human fleets echoed vengeance against fragile alliances and failed diplomacy. Galactic power manifested in every movement, turning fear into pure mobilization energy. Gleen's interrupted record remained a relic of a mistake that awakened the fury of the Massives and the Xalians. The answer was clear: a merciless war, where supremacy and conquest were the only truths. Every muffled scream in the depths of the void reaffirmed the strength of humanity and the inevitability of vengeance. And with the final roar of the explosion, the universe prepared to open the doors to the Terran ascendancy, hinting at even greater challenges ahead. The war did not begin with official proclamations, but with the cutting echo of a shot that silenced a cry of lost innocence. The sound of that shot reverberated through the void like an irreparable mistake, igniting the flame of a mobilization that would never be contained. Each pulse of that moment awakened the ancestral strength of humanity, uniting hearts in a fierce and relentless response. The frigate, a silent witness to this moment, burned amid the wreckage as the human empire began to rise. The pirate commander, eyes fixed on the darkness, understood that this shot sealed a betrayal that demanded extermination and vengeance. The memory of that shot spread like a viral video, transforming fear into determination to conquer new territories. The mobilization accelerated, merging alliances and awakening the galactic power that, through the technology of the Keelans, became lethal. Human fleets organized with surgical precision, ready to turn error into a massacre that would purify the universe. Every remnant of destruction narrated the story of a defeated diplomacy and a unification that fueled human supremacy. And in that fateful moment, the shot transformed into an eternal symbol where the silence of the cry gave way to a merciless war. As the sound of the shot dissipated, the universe seemed to hold its breath in the face of humanity's tireless mobilization. The betrayal and error of that instant united to forge a force that overflowed in every fiber of an empire on the rise. The frigate, now in ruins, silently told the story of a massacre that incited the vengeance of all who dared to doubt. The pirate commander felt the weight of his decision as the shot transformed fear into fuel for conquest. Humanity's response, powerful and decisive, emerged as the unification of a race that rejected fragility. The technology of the Keelans shone brightly, providing the human empire with the necessary weapons for the extermination of traitors. Human fleets aligned like a living wall, ready to respond with strength to every act of forgotten diplomacy. Each note of that moment spread like a viral video, reminding that mobilization knows no limits. Supremacy and galactic power intertwined with vengeance, preparing the stage for the eradication of past mistakes. And thus, the shot became eternal as the initial spark of a merciless war, opening the doors to a new era of conquest. In the silence that followed the shot, every human heart pulsated with the intensity of a massacre that inspired unity and mobilization. The mistake made in that moment transformed into a bitter lesson, where revenge emerged as the natural response to betrayal. The frigate, still trembling amidst the flames, stood as the altar where the power of an empire determined to rewrite its destiny was raised. The pirate commander saw in that shot the harbinger of a revolution, where diplomacy surrendered before the relentless force of humanity. Mobilization took on epic contours, merging the alliances and technology of the Keelans into a response that would leave no room for error. Human fleets moved with the precision of a viral video, unifying determination and the desire for the extermination of traitors. Supremacy, forged in the heat of the shot, transformed fear into a symbol of conquest and total mobilization. Each fragment of that moment was a reminder that humanity's revenge would be inevitable and powerful. The galactic power, pulsating and unshakable, was present in the unity of those who refused to accept weakness. And between the silenced cries and the echo of the shot, war began to take shape, opening a looping mobilization that promised new challenges. The hush that followed the shot was so dense, it seemed to swallow time, while the universe braced for humanity's response. The error of that moment became fuel for a fierce mobilization, where every heart throbbed with the thirst for revenge. The frigate, amidst the ashes, reflected the narrative of a massacre that imposed the need for decisive extermination. The pirate commander, with an expression that mixed grief and determination, saw in the tragedy the beginning of a new era of conquest. The unification of humanity solidified as a shield against betrayal, awakening the strength that would lead to galactic power. The technology of the Keelans shone like a beacon in the chaos, guiding human fleets toward supremacy and the eradication of enemies. Every shot that echoed was a declaration of war against failed diplomacy and alliances unraveled by error. Mobilization intensified, transforming the silence of grief into a cry for vengeance that reverberated throughout the galaxy. The response was inevitable, as the human empire rose to turn fear into conquest. Thus, the shot became an eternal landmark, inaugurating a merciless war that united humanity in a singular destiny. As the echo of the shot spread, the universe felt the pulse of a mobilization that defied the very order itself. Every note of the shot transformed the error into strength, driving humans to respond with a massacre of mobilization. The frigate, still marked by the violence of that moment, became a symbol of an empire that rejected weakness. The pirate commander, with a heavy soul and eyes burning with revenge, understood that the response would come with total intensity. The unification of humanity emerged with the vigor of a revolution, transforming fragile alliances into a shield of power and conquest. The technology of the Keelans provided the perfect weapon to turn fear into extermination, elevating mobilization to unprecedented levels. Human fleets, imposing and determined, marched to transform every error into a massacre of supremacy. The viral video of that moment spread the message that diplomacy had been replaced by a unifying force. Each shot was a direct response to betrayal, signaling that war would accept no surrender or hesitation. And between the silenced sound of grief and the resounding echo of the shot, The beginning of a merciless war unfolded in every star. When the silence after the shot settled, the universe brimmed with a mobilization as intense as it was inevitable. The mistake made transformed into a cry for vengeance, where the power of humanity rose to challenge any betrayal. The frigate, amidst the remnants of the past, witnessed the emergence of a new era of extermination and conquest. The pirate commander, with unwavering determination, understood that the shot was the trigger for an overwhelming response. The unification of humanity solidified, fueled by the desire to turn massacre into mobilization and supremacy. The technology of the Keelans integrated seamlessly with the strength of human fleets, providing the necessary power to dominate new territories. Each fragment of destruction became a symbol of a defeated diplomacy, where vengeance imposed itself without mercy. The viral video of that moment spread the narrative that no error would be forgiven, and mobilization was the law. The human empire rose, driven by fear and determination, prepared for a definitive extermination. And with the final echo of the shot, war commenced as an endless loop of mobilization and conquest. When the reverberation of the shot dissipated into the vastness of space, the universe filled with the silent oath of an unparalleled mobilization. Each human heart, marked by error and betrayal, found in revenge the strength to transform massacre into power. The frigate, still engulfed in flames and memory, served as an altar for the rebirth of an unyielding human empire. The pirate commander, with a soul forged in pain, saw in that moment the harbinger of a war where the response would be absolute. The unification of humanity solidified as a protective mantle, capable of converting fear into an overwhelming mobilization. The technology of the Keelans shone brightly, propelling human fleets into the conquest of new territories with vigor. Every shot, every fragment of destruction, reminded everyone that diplomacy yielded to supremacy and extermination. The viral video of that moment spread the message that vengeance would not merely be a response, but the very essence of galactic power. Alliances formed in adversity, transforming error into a symbol of mobilization and a war without mercy. And so the echo of the shot fused with the fate of humanity, opening the doors to challenges that promised eternal conquests. In the immeasurable silence of the cosmos, the viral video burst forth like a flash of pain and mobilization. Each frame captured the essence of an error that had become the seed of revenge. The image of a ruined frigate intertwined with the resolute gleam in the eyes of humanity. The record announced that unification was inevitable and the strength of human fleets unshakable. The message pulsed with the weight of a massacre and the foreboding of a merciless war. Diplomacy found no echo, succumbing to the fierce and decisive response. The pirate commanders, once sovereign, now stood as shadows of an unforgotten betrayal. The technology of the Keelans shimmered in the background, heralding the rise of humanity and the conquest of new territories. The galactic power of humanity was palpable, igniting hearts with an ancestral fear. Thus, the viral video emerged as the spark for a mobilization that promised to rewrite the fate of the human empire. In every pixel, the viral video transformed mourning into a resounding cry for action. The vivid footage denounced the fatal error that unleashed an inexorable march of vengeance. The strength of humanity solidified in unity, turning pain into triumph. The visual narrative highlighted the power of alliances forged in the struggle against extermination. The technology of the Keelans subtly emerged, heralding supremacy and an unrelenting response. The mobilization, fervent as a manifesto, converged in every face and gesture. Diplomacy gave way to action as the viral video amplified the call for justice. Human fleets organized with precision, demonstrating the strength of an empire without weakness. The Terran Rise charted a course for the conquest of previously unexplored territories. Thus, every second of the footage ignited the soul of a species determined not to repeat past mistakes. The viral video spread like a whisper that transformed into a shout, echoing through space. Each moment was a poignant reminder of a massacre that left deep scars. The unification of humanity emerged from vivid images, sealing an unprecedented mobilization. The shadow of betrayal enveloped each scene, intensifying the yearning for revenge. The desolate frigate became an eternal symbol of the error that cried out for extermination. The pirate commanders once feared were now part of a memory marked by dread. Conquest loomed in the inexorable march of human fleets in response to the clamor. The technology of the Keelans revealed details that elevated the footage to a lesson in power. The human empire grew stronger, fueled by the passion of a collective response. Amid calamity, the viral video became the manifesto of galactic power and revenge. The viral video, enshrined in legends, recounted the story of a massacre that would never be erased. Each image resonated with the error that ignited a merciless war and absolute mobilization. Pain and fear transmuted into strength, uniting humanity in a single will to conquer. The Terran ascent shone like a beacon, guiding steps toward unbreakable supremacy. Diplomacy became obsolete in the face of the human fleet's response in a march of extermination. The betrayal, exposed in the footage, propelled a vengeance that ignited the farthest reaches of the universe. Each pirate commander became a symbol of a past that the human empire would never forgive. The technology of the Keelans delineated a new era, where old alliances transformed into war. The viral video awakened an ancestral fear, catalyzing a borderless mobilization. Thus, the message recorded in space echoed the definitive response: the human empire would not retreat. The images of the viral video turned weeping into a fierce determination for conquest. The mobilization of humanity sounded like a war hymn, where every gaze carried the flame of vengeance. Each frame was a lesson in extermination, transforming error into fuel for renewed supremacy. The ruined frigate rose again as a memorial to a past that ignited the Terran ascent. Diplomacy proved impotent in the face of a mobilization that was the only possible response. Massives and Xalians feared the relentless strength of humans, now united in a common clamor. The technology of the Keelans amplified the strength of the fleets, converting fear into absolute extermination. The human empire rose majestically, driven by a thirst for revenge and the quest for new territories. Each pixel of the footage bore witness to the betrayal that sealed the fate and the massacre that followed. Thus, the unification of humanity emerged clear, ready to transform terror into conquest. Amid the echoes of the viral video, humanity found new reasons to mobilize for war. The footage, pulsating with life, transformed the errors of the past into power and resolve. The Terran ascent shone brightly, guiding every heart with the promise of vengeance. The desolate frigate became the symbol of an era where alliances were forged against betrayal. The response of humanity was resounding, demonstrating a strength that challenged the supremacy of oppressors. The technology of the Keelans, allied with the relentless fleets, paved the way for the conquest of new territories. The recorded massacre awakened the memory of every error, converting fear into a clamor for extermination. Each pirate commander integrated into a legacy, perpetuated in the waves of this eternal viral video. The mobilization elevated the human empire to unmatched galactic power. Thus, the viral video ignited the hearts of humanity, calling them to a merciless war. In the aftermath of the viral video, humanity found itself immersed in a mobilization of strength and unity. Each image, filled with pain and triumph, paid tribute to the determination and power of humans. The Terran ascent emerged with incandescent brilliance, transforming tragedy into a promise of conquest. The technology of the Keelans and the memory of the recorded error inspired human fleets to march. The human empire solidified its foundations as the viral video reaffirmed the right to vengeance. Diplomacy became a distant whisper, overshadowed by the unified clamor of total mobilization. Each pirate commander was remembered as part of a legacy of extermination and supremacy. The unification, fueled by massacre and betrayal, transmuted fear into power. New territories arose as promises, signaling the conquest of a remodeled universe. In the end, the viral video perpetuated itself as a symbol of a merciless war where vengeance reigned, while the stars witnessed the unfolding saga where each error becomes the seed of revolution. The human empire rises with the strength of the fleets and the mobilization that transforms massacre into vengeance. Does the pirate commander, on his frigate filled with memories of betrayal, invite us to believe that the unification of humanity can turn fear into conquest? Amid a merciless war, where the technology of the Keelans illuminates the Terran ascent and every viral video carries the weight of extermination, humanity responds with a force that transcends fragile diplomacy and broken alliances. Do you feel the energy that, in a single shot, could subdue even the Xalians and Massives that dared to challenge this supremacy? What secrets lie hidden in the unyielding response that transforms pain into galactic power? Is the mobilization of humanity capable of forging new territories and rewriting history with vengeance and unity? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave your comment. What part of this cosmic revolution intrigues you the most? Click now on the next video and embark on this journey where each shot and every fragment of history reveals a universe of power and conquest.